Mairlyn, you're
Yes,
here.
I
think this has been rolling for probably for about 5 minutes. Who knows what our videographer is going to capture on this? But you did stand-up comedy anyway with Second City, so
There you go. I'm used to.
You're used to this.
Yeah, being goofy. Okay.
But we've known you a long time.
Yeah.
And this is your latest book, Healthy Starts Here.
Here.
Right here.
Right here.
Right here
right
on
now,
this
today,
shelf.
right on
Healthy,
this
right
shelf.
here.
Look at that.
I know, it's all
Double
together.
thing. Yeah.
Now, your first book, though, was
Yes.
great. It was called Lick the Spoon.
Yes, which I wanted to call Bite Me. And you know what? Macmillan wouldn't let me. They thought that it was. They thought it was too in your face. And now
Probably
there's a
then.
book called
Now there
Bite
was
Me.
a book called.
I know,
is
so
a
I'm
book
a
called Bite Me.
trendsetter.
You are. You're just ahead of your
I wanted to call
time.
this Chew on It. Chew on this, but
Chew.
they thought that was rude too. So.
Well, chew on this with your photo right there. Might have been a little scary. But now, since mid-90s when you wrote that book
Yes.
to now, and you
Yeah.
are a home economist.
Yeah.
So what are the changes you've seen in people's dietary, like their requests from you? You have a website too, and what people are asking for, availability of ingredients. You must have seen a huge change.
I actually have seen more people that know that healthy is a really
good
good
for
idea.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not crazy healthy. I'm not a tree hugging hippie.
You don't preach, which I love. You don't say
thank
eat
you.
this or die, which I can't stand when some books do get that little high pedestal, and I don't like
Yeah.
that. You don't do that.
Well, the thing with that is that it's offsetting, you know, and I want you to do your best, you know.
Right.
I mean, I eat healthy as often as I can, but I mean, I get ice cream, I eat stuff. I mean, it's not, you know, and it's not like chips or everything's, you can have everything.
Right.
You just have to be really careful about, you know,
So
moderation.
what do you see though? What's changed over the years?
I see that people are really concerned about the kinds of fat that they eat, that they know that there are good fats and bad
Right,
fats, and
okay.
so they're really aware of that. And I see that there's a bigger demand for the nutrition breakdown in all the bottoms of the recipe, so that because
Right.
people are going.
People are still interested in the numbers?
They
I'd
are.
rather used to be fixated on the numbers.
And now they're interested because Weight Watchers has got their point system now,
Right.
and now that they can figure that out. And also, I included the diabetes information,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of people are interested in that as well. But I think the bottom line is that people know that you will feel great. You'll
They know
feel
how to
better.
make those numbers work for them.
Yeah, and
which
it's
is
not
important.
like, oh no, it's got 45
Yeah.
calories. I can't have this. No,
Yes.
it's more like, oh, you know what, I can make this work.
Right.
Yeah, so it's more of a kind of a more relaxed feeling about healthy.
And do you find now healthy cooking is perhaps easier to do because of availability of ingredients?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
I believe that big time. But
Yeah.
I also believe that people are not as, you know, quinoa 10 years ago, people didn't know what it was. And now
No, they couldn't pronounce it.
They couldn't pronounce
They
it.
couldn't pronounce it last year, trust me.
Okay, well, I put a pronunciation in the book. Anyway,
Good.
but you know, but seriously, but now it's kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, I know that. So it's more, you know, I think in lots of ways I've been ahead of the trend, and I think
Right.
that the trend is catching up with me. And so now people do know what barley and quinoa and natural cocoa powder is. So it's something that's not so scary anymore.
So if you're ahead of the trend,
Yes.
what do you see coming down the pipe then?
I see a whole big thing on cocoa and natural cocoa powder and cocoa nibs, because I haven't found a book yet that uses cocoa
No.
nibs and natural cocoa powder but me.
And that is probably a good thing too. I mean, that's something that I think people are sort of aware, but not how to use it or what the differences are.
Yeah,
So that-
and I also see a bigger use in produce, a local seasonal stuff, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's more economical too.
Right.
But I do see people more connected with that as opposed to just going to the grocery store and buying a tomato in the middle of December
Right.
that doesn't taste like a tomato. So people are more, you know, oh, I think I'll wait and buy it when it's in season.
Tell us about your book, though, the latest one, because it's a treat. I mean, it's fun to. I mean, we were just discussing earlier off camera, saying how much we like to read our cookbooks before we even get to the recipes. And yours is a prime example of that. You have got some great little anecdotal, not little anecdotal. You've got like a page of stories, and you just know there's more story to that. But they're fun, and I really love that. Did you enjoy doing that? And then
Yeah,
tell us
and-
about the book and how that incorporates.
Okay, well, I wanted to write a book that was entertaining and educational, and so I thought that my Second City background and the way that I kind of put a spin on, you know, why you know when you eat asparagus that your pee smells? Did you know? And people are like, why?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's funny. Did you know we all do, but only 40% of us can smell it?
Oh, I didn't know that.
See, now that's isn't that, so you know,
Yeah,
good
it
laugh.
is
Okay,
fun.
so you're
Yeah.
going to remember that.
Right.
So I thought, you know, I'm kind of like Sesame Street for adults. So if I make entertaining and you know it's all funny
Right.
nutrition, then maybe you will actually remember that. So that was the premise that was behind
Good.
it. And then Robert at Whitecap said I could do my rants, and because I'm a big fan of Rick
do,
Mercer.
yeah, and you have
I
the
like
F word.
rants. I do
You've
say
got
the
the whole F word in there.
But it's for fiber. It's my
Nope.
favorite big F word, fiber. Anyway, but I think that was fun to do. But I also wanted to highlight the foods that I thought would
Right.
give you the biggest biggest bang for your nutrition loony.
Yes.
And so instead of writing a chapter on salads and main courses and all that stuff, I did a chapter on apples and asparagus and leafy greens and
that's how you set
vegetables.
the book up,
And that's
yeah.
how I set the book up, which is, I think, very unique. I don't think a lot of people
No,
do it
not
that
always,
way.
no.
Yeah, and then I tell you how to buy it, how to store it, why you should be eating it, and then a whole bunch of funny stuff in between too.
Well, and you're really good in that you have no worries about telling people the disasters you've had. Can I say that?
Yeah, I know. I love that story.
One, and I'll just tease people. The one you did, you were having your publisher. He wasn't your publisher yet. You were kind of selling him on the idea of the book, and you had him over, and it was a disaster, an absolute. And I won't say more. People have to buy the book to read it.
Okay,
it was
good.
an absolute disaster.
Right.
And I hear people talk about disasters, but I've never seen anybody have the guts to put it in a book. And to the point
I have
where
no
you
shame.
couldn't even send him home in a taxi,
No.
or you couldn't drive him home because your car wasn't working or something.
No, I was drunk.
You were drunk. Oh, that's right. You were drunk. You couldn't send him in a taxi
Yeah.
because you had no money
money.
for whatever, and you
Yeah.
couldn't even come up with the token for the subway or
No,
something.
we had to get a whole bunch of change, and I
Yeah.
gave him $3 and I walked him to the subway.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. But that's just that. Never mind the food. It was hysterical, funny. It made you feel that that's human, that's normal. So
Yeah.
therefore, the book, I'm going to enjoy it.
Well, that's why I love
So-
Julia Child, because she
Yeah.
made mistakes, but I revered her, and I mean, I love her.
Yeah.
But if things went wrong, she just went with it, right? Where
Yes.
other cooking shows, everything has to be perfect. You know,
And
life's
yours
not
a
perfect.
book that everybody should get really messed up and use a lot, and that's the biggest testament to an author, is a really messy book. And I
Yeah.
sense this is going to be a messy book in a lot of kitchens.
Well, you know what? If
Good
my
for you.
triple chocolate brownie cookie recipe doesn't have cocoa all over it, if I come over to your house, you've not made the
There's
recipe.
a lot of finger wagging here.
I used to be a teacher.
Yeah, I
How can
think
you
so.
tell that? Oh, never.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
been good.
And
And
you
what's
know
with the
what?
orange and green?
We just
And
are
blue.
very, you know, well,
We're colorful
figure it
people.
out.
It's our veggies.
There you go. 7 to 10.
Thanks, Mairlyn.
Thank you.